both Lee Kuan Ju and Chimera to the stage. Thank you guys so much for joining us. How are you both?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, great, doing great. Happy to be here.
Perfect. Then, look, I'll let you take it away. Go ahead with your presentation, and then we'll also do an AMA session towards the end. And for everyone listening in, make sure you join the DigitalAX Discord. Put your wallet in the AMA giveaways channel, because we have some really cool Pickle Finance Decentraland jackets that we'll be giving away during this session. So yeah, don't forget about that. But take it away, guys.
Great, great. So, well, today we have prepared basically a little session about what is Pickle Finance and how to use it. So I'm going to share my screen right now.
One second, guys. Sorry, I think I'll add Leikon back. Is it sharing a screen? Is it working or?
Yeah, everything's fine. It's a little whoopsie with authorizing the screen sharing,
All right. Okay.
but it should be great to go now. Okay.
Perfect.
Yep, you should be able to see my screen now, and I'm going to go to basically the Pickle Finance main page, right? Can everybody see my screen? Great. So basically, Pickle Finance is a yield maximizer, and what that means is that if you want to say auto compound rewards that you get from yield farming, uh, get the possible best yield on any particular uh, source of liquidity that Pickle supports, then using Pickle Finance is going to allow you to automatically do that. So that is the set and forget part. You just need to basically deposit on what we call the pickle jar, which is essentially this vault that does some automation for your yield farming needs, and you don't need to worry about it again. In fact, there are quite a number of benefits besides the automation bit to using uh, something like Pickle Finance, right? So, a brief overview about where we are at now. So, Pickle Finance has roughly 100 million in TVL, and currently there's about 5,700 users uh, using pickle jars, to get the best possible yield on their investments, right? Since, for example, last month, we processed almost $2 million in yield rewards. That's being done 24/7 through our smart contracts, and it's fully on chain. And at the moment, we support all sorts of liquidity pools and market making pools and single asset pools in both Ethereum and Polygon. And you can get some yields depending on what it is. It's pretty competitive, but we have up to 900% APY, which, it's really way above anything I used to experience before DeFi came around. So we are a very collaborative project. Whenever we do a pickle jar or any other collaboration, we make sure to bring other protocols to the table. We have worked with, most famously with Yearn and Sushi which are great partners in the space, and we build a lot of pickle jars based around their products, meaning sushi pools and urine vaults. But we've also worked with Alchemix, B Protocol, Cream, Frax, Liquidity, Qidao, and Polygon, the Polygon team itself, and others. So Pickle Finance is a community run project. I am head of product, and uh, in order to basically attain that position, I started as a community member, and a proposal was submitted. People that had the voting power in Pickle, you just had to approve everything related to core contributor and other parameters set by Pickle, like the amount of Pickle emissions. They vote on the rewards. I think we will see this down in the workshop, but essentially, uh, we use a voting token called DIL. So at the moment, in order to get dill, you need to lock your pickle anywhere from a week to up to 4 years, and 50.3% of all the pickle supply is currently locked. 837 addresses are doing that, and the average lock is 3.35 years. So it's a long-term outlook for the people involved in the governance of the protocol. And for example, last month we distributed $175,000 in revenue sharing from the Pickle protocol, 45% of the revenues to these DIL, we call them vote lockers, right? Pickle Finance is also an audited protocol. We have had a number of audits by Mixed Bytes, PeckShield, Heichi. The last audit we had was with the launch of DIL, but we're in the process of auditing some other new components of the protocol, for example, collaborations that are upcoming with Frax, right? So, well, the Pickle token is how you can sort of get a taste of the Pickle governance, and currently it's a small market cap protocol. The price is about $10, and it's about 8 million in market cap. However, we think it's doing fairly well, given last month it had about $388,000 in revenue. It has a healthy treasury, currently has 1.4 million or so. And there's this element in DeFi about hacks, and Pickle has not been immune to them in the past. We're, however, proud to say that despite this terrible experience, our last hack was already something like 8 months ago, and everybody that uh, was hacked in Pickle Finance received a debt token, and so far 15% of all that debt has been paid out and continues to be paid out every week, right? So if I look into this and I want to go to the Pickle Finance app, then I just click enter app, and I connect my wallet. So this is essentially the Pickle homepage. Here I will see basically that I'm connected to the Ethereum network. This is my wallet, and there might be some stats about how the Ethereum price is doing, Pickle, the market cap, uh, the TVL, things that we already sort of discussed. And if I have any balance of Pickle tokens or any balance to harvest, I will also see it here. But the very interesting bit is found right here in jars, and that's where we find the automated Pickle strategies working, right? So I will basically be able to scroll down my screen and find jars for whatever uh, underlying capital is highlighted here. So here is a jar for USDC that is powered by Yearn. So it's a single asset jar. However, many other jars are jars of pool tokens, and these may have two or more pooled assets. So, for example, this jar is in Curve and it contains LUSD and the three pool of DAI, USDC, and USDT, right? So we have certain jars that are very collaborative, as I mentioned before. Yearn is one of the protocols that we're basically have a product that we co-launched. B protocol is another, and we're gonna touch this one in more detail. And finally, I would say these are more native jars. So, for example, this particular one that is outperforming the others is for auto compounding the gains of the Sushi Swap Spell ETH pool. So Spell is the governance token of Abracadabra, which is a great platform for obtaining or minting stablecoin with uh, Vault tokens from Yearn and other uh, yield generating or interest bearing assets. They just started the support for XSushi, which is the yield generating sushi governance token. So if I uh, hover over this question mark sign, I will see that the original yield of the farm is 135% roughly, and the yield here is 286%. And so how do I get that boost of over 100% in my yearly gains? And that is through auto compounding. So the Pickle contracts regularly grab the market making rewards for this, or the liquidity mining rewards for this particular pool, and they sell them for more liquidity pool tokens. So your capital is constantly growing, and you don't have to worry about the Ethereum gas cost of performing this operation. You don't have to worry about uh, the time it takes to perform this operation, or the frequency it would have for you to get this yield. And if you live in certain jurisdictions where each of these transactions may constitute some taxable event, you may also benefit. I'm not a tax advisor, but our understanding is some people have benefited from certain savings in just using a product like Pickle Finance, right? So I'm going to show you a deposit here on one of our partner pools, so you can kind of get an idea of what's the experience. So uh, I'm going to be using this B protocol LUSD pool, and this particular one goes to provide a backstop to liquidity. So LUSD is a stable coin issued by liquidity that is uh, over collateralized, meaning it's backed by more collateral than the stablecoin supply is. And in this particular case, the collateral is exclusively ETH, right? So if you are a long term believer in ETH, you may think that a stable coin that is backed by just ETH might be the most decentralized option. So LUSD is quite popular right now in Ethereum. And if you hold some LUSD because you have gone to liquidity and taken a loan on your ETH to keep your ETH exposure and get some sort of cash out of it to leverage and do something else, then you might want to use this sort of uh, jar, right? And this particular jar provides your LUSD as a backstop for liquidations. So whenever liquidations happens, you will be receiving a discounted asset that used to be collateral. And well, if you were a liquidator, you would have to get rid of this asset yourself into dollars, right? So that you're not uh, subject to the price risk of the asset. However, in this case, the jar does it for you. So you only maintain your exposure to LUSD. So if you open the detail, you would see that there's a little explainer about how it works. So the jar deposits in B protocol in their backstop automated market making. And so whenever a liquidation happens, you will not have to worry about processing that ETH, which would cost you a lot of gas to get to continue growing your LUSD. So currently it's providing two types of rewards. One is in the secondary token of the liquidity protocol called LQTY, and that amounts to about 13%. And another 1% comes from the liquidations. If whenever they happen, you get a sort of prorated amount versus everybody that's on the pool, and usually the discount price works to about 10%. But the liquidations are not happening constantly as are the LQTY rewards. So I have gone and bought some LUSD before here, but if you don't have LUSD, you can sort of click the link here and it will take you someplace you can buy it. In this case, Uniswap, and you could have bought it with ETH, for example. So this makes it more convenient for uh, people who like the jar but don't just quite have the deposit token. So I'm going to deposit some of my uh, LUSD. At the moment, I have uh, 778 in my wallet, and I'm just going to be depositing, say, 250 for this demo. So I click on deposit after inputting the amount, and I get my MetaMask gas confirmation screen. And well, let's go with high. You don't have to, it's not recommended necessarily, but for the purpose of this demo, let's go with high and see what happens. So, okay, so the balance has been deposited, and at the moment, I obtained a share of the uh, B protocol LUSD, and it seems like I got lucky. And there was a certain amount of LUSD sitting in the jar that hadn't yet been claimed. So now I have a worth of 252.5. This doesn't always happen, but it's reading the balance directly from the jar. So this is very accurate, right? And you would see if I float here, I have received, okay, it will tell me I still have 252.5 because I have just entered the jar, but I also have a +0 PLQTY. And this is the value of the integration, is that we are providing, besides what you would get going directly to B protocol, an additional automation. And it is that your LQTY rewards are wrapped for you as a Pickle token. And what that means is that, for example, if I were to have LQTY, we also have that as a jar right here, and it has an additional APY of 16.23%. So if you're an LQTY holder and you're familiar with Liquidity, uh, the Liquidity protocol collects fees and gives those fees to their stakers. So you would have to grab your LQTY and not have it in your wallet, but deposit it in the staking contract. And then as people borrow in liquidity and people redeem in liquidity. Fees are collected and those are sent to the stakers. What this jar does is automate what many stakers would do, which is to grab those fees and sell them for more LQTY. Since they're long on LQTY has a fixed supply. Why not get more LQTY as time passes by? Now, you will see like I don't have currently any LQTY, but I will be getting some as I spend more time in the B protocol jar. I will be getting some PLQTY. I won't even have to deposit it again. It's already been deposited in the jar for me. So on the background, it's collecting this additional 16.23% on that part of the yield. And that is actually not really accounted for in this stage. So right now, I actually have a very, very small amount of PLQTY because I've spent, a few minutes already in the jar. And if I want to withdraw this, then I just withdraw it and it would be at the moment pretty small, but then I could do something with it. And what I could do with it is take it to the pickle farm for one additional yield, which is pickle. And I'm going to show you how that works by using another jar, right? So this jar right here is LUSD CRV jar. And so I don't have this token, right? I have LUSD, I have about 528 LUSD, but it's not the same, right? This is the pool token. So I have to go to Curve and I have to deposit my LUSD in order to get uh, the jar tokens. So I'm going to deposit, say, 250 as well, and I'm going to click this option, deposit simply. I don't want it staked in Curve because I need my token in order to use it in the pickle jar. So I click deposit, and in this case, I haven't done this before, so it's asking me to approve the transaction, and it should trigger the MetaMask at some point. Oops. So it looks like the Curve UI is a little glitchy right now, but luckily I can still get this token elsewhere. So if I go to Zapper, I'll be able to search by pool and find this LUSD pool in Curve. And I will then use my LUSD from this interface and be able to get the pool token. So I will set the gas to high. And now I'm able to confirm the transaction. It's a little pricey to use Curve for deposits, but we also support Polygon where the network fees are much smaller and the flow is exactly the same. If I don't have the deposit token, I just click the link on Pickle and it takes me to an interface where I can get it, or I can just use something like Zapper or 1inch or even the MetaMask interface itself to swap whatever tokens I have. So if I'm not sure when my transaction might confirm, I will try to see it in Etherscan. This one hasn't particularly been posted to the network just yet. And okay, it's just been posted. Oops. So if I'm using something like Pickle, all these headache of using the Ethereum network for every single transaction of auto compounding is also gone. So now I have received the amount of pool tokens. So currently these tokens are 249.93. That is normal. There is a little slippage to allow for the transaction not to revert, and I would deposit them in the pickle jar. If I've never done this, then I will also have to approve the spending of the token. This is fairly normal in all sorts of interfaces. And once the approval processes, it immediately triggers the next transaction, which is the actual deposit in the contracts. So it's gone through. It takes a little for the UI to see it. And I have received 241 pool tokens. So at this moment, it may be confusing, but I can see that the value is still the same. And what happens is that this jar's been out for a while. So it's the pool token value has increased relatively to the value of just the pool token. So meaning the pickle jar deposit that tracks this pool on Pickle is now worth more than one. And I can kind of guess the ratio here roughly, but the point is I have 249 LUSD CRV pool tokens, and these are getting around 10% in rewards, right? So I could basically say, okay, this is Pickle. I'm depositing a number of jars. If I tell the interface to uh, basically show me which jars I am, it will have, this LUSD CRV, this LUSD one. I have some dust here on the USDC jar from testing it before. And okay, this is basically how my positions are in Pickle at the moment. But I mentioned that I can get even more yield. So I've just deposited in the LUSD CRV jar. So if I see it here, I realize that I can get further the same 9.74% I got before, but some more yield in Pickle from 3.9 to another 9.78. So basically, I could potentially double my yield through this special Pickle yield. And why would anybody do that? And the reason is that uh, this is sort of a retention incentive. You would need to stake your jar token. So it's still doing everything it does on the jar, but by being staked on Pickle, you can get additional Pickle yield. And so the difference between these two ends of the yield is about 2.5%. And that is because some Pickle users have what we call a boost. And you get a boost by locking some of your pickles. So at the moment, I'm just going to deposit all of my uh, P tokens in this farm, and I have to authorize the contracts to spend this token, which is different than the LUSD CRV token I authorized before. And once the approval kicks in, I will do the second transaction, which is the staking transaction, and I will start earning pickles. Seems we have some congestion in the network. Okay, this has gone through. So now I've just sent the second transaction to the network, and I'm staked, right? So my balance is 0 because I don't have any more P tokens in my wallet, but my staked balance is 241. That's the amount of stake tokens that are in the farm, and they are worth $249.93. So currently I'm getting the maximum APY, which is 19.52, and that's because I have the maximum amount of boost. And as Pickle starts to accumulate, I will see it in this earned component, right? How is it decided that these farms get more Pickle or versus other farms? So essentially, this is where some of the on-chain magic happens. These are the weights of all the pools in Pickle, right? And these are voted by the community. So if you have Dill, you could say, oh, I want to vote the LUSD pool that I just joined, and I would add it here and give it the maximum amount of weight, and it would change right away. So I'm not going to do this for the demo, but I will show you how you can get more boosts on your Pickle, and that is clicking on this third link here, which is Dill. So this is the Dill interface, right? At the moment, I am locked until 2025, right? And I have locked a certain amount of pickles here, and the amount of Dill is 1 to 1 if I have kept the lock for 4 years. And because this lock is going to expire, say, a couple of weeks before the 4-year mark, I'm getting a little bit less Dill than Pickle. And this is constantly decaying. So the amount of Dill that you get goes down. It doesn't change your underlying Pickles. And the idea is to have the people that are vested in the protocol the longest, and that they're constantly having that long-term outlook, be the ones that receive the most rewards. So at the moment, the interface tells me, how many pickles are locked, 825,000. The number of deals that there are, and if I lock, I can receive revenue sharing. So currently I have 44.31 pickles that are there from the last week of revenue sharing, in a couple days. Actually, tomorrow, in a little over 24 hours, there will be another deal distribution. So there's a projected amount of revenue that the platform's getting, and that will be spread out across every deal holder. So the amount of deal that you have determines how much of this do you get. Currently, I have a certain share of deal, 0.63% of the total, and I can see how the amount of pickles per deal has been going on every week. The amount of pickles that have been distributed are going. What is the supply of dill? All of this data is being taken from on chain, and I can calculate my boost, right? So here's my amount of dill. If before I deposit in the farm, I want to know what I would need to get the max boost, then I just put the farm here and say, okay, it automatically tells me what is the amount of dollars in the pool and what is my balance. And it says, I can get the max boosts with as little as 311 dill, and so I currently have more than that, and so that's why I'm getting the 2.5 times extra pickle for being on this jar. So uh, now that it's been some time, maybe we can check how the jar is doing. And well, this particular one still hasn't earned uh, any discernible amount of pickle, but some others I was in before have earned some. So this is actually quite beneficial to get this extra uh, pickle, particularly if I can lock it for deal and get revenue sharing, currently around 43% yearly. So, well, that's Pickle Finance, guys. We have a Discord. If you visit our site, you can find all our socials at the bottom. Uh, our Discord community has 8,000 or so members, right? So feel free to drop by. I'm gonna stop screen sharing so nobody gets too dizzy, and we can.
There we go. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lee Panju, for that. That was really insightful. So with the time that we have left, we've got a number of questions that we can answer for the AMA session, but I also really want to speak to you guys more about DAO and how you actually operate as a DAO, because this is really interesting and something that you brought up earlier in your presentation was more about the risks in DeFi and protocols. Operating in this space, it is the bleeding edge, and there is that risk of getting hacked, whether that's at a smart contract level or even at a team level per se. So one kind of interesting point with that is, as you mentioned, that actually when there was an exploitation, the Pickle holders now are actually getting paid back out or to cover that loss, which for creators and designers listening in, this is a really significant point, because when we think about traditional finance, just take the global financial crisis as a significant example. It's kind of like, well, good luck. If something happens, people just say, okay, great, good luck. You might have lost all your funds or the bank screwed you over. There's no support offered. It's not like they're going to really help you or go out of their way to cover a loss or an exploitation. But what you guys are proving out here is through a decentralized model operating as a DAO. It's really aligning community and individual incentives, at all layers of the protocol. So could you give us a little bit more information on your farming pickles, what this token is actually used for within governance within the protocol, and then the DAO itself? How does that operate? Like, how do you incentivize more people to join? What kind of voting methods do you use? Because, a lot of people are slapping their name, like saying, oh, I'm a DAO, but it's very different to operate fully decentralized and authentically as a DAO than just to kind of say, well, this is, a label that we're calling ourselves. So yeah, we would love to really hear more from you guys about that.
Sure, no problem. Well, the first thing is, about hacks. You're totally right. Well, in DeFi, we're working on a layer of software. So whenever there are losses, it's often because either there was a bad actor, or the bad actor was able to exploit some sort of situation that the developers of the protocol didn't foresee when they deployed some contracts, right? And so this is a small space, and it's fairly horizontal, right? You have, if you go to Discord, you have access to most of the developers in DeFi. If they're very serious about their protocol, they should be there almost every day, and you can just ask them directly, look, what's happening. I'm seeing this problem in my protocol. So whenever a hack has happened, we have been able to basically and other protocols go directly there and see the developer just really answering questions. Let me find out what is going on, figure out the amount of losses, etc. Right? So this is yeah, quite different from traditional finance. You could also experience a significant loss due to fraud, but then you might have to wait an amount of years for the authorities to intervene, go to court, something like that, right? And if the loss is too huge, like some banks have, or some Ponzi schemes have gone off, even in jurisdictions that are very advanced, like the United States, New York City, this has happened very notoriously in the past. And the victims there, they will need to wait for some entity to respond to some sort of court edict, 7 or 8 years down the line, and they may not get the amount of compensation that they want. They just might settle. So in DeFi, particularly at Pickle, we suffered a significant hack. So at the time it happened, the hack represented something like 20% of all the funds that were at Pickle at the time. And we decided that um, we were going to approach it differently, and we were going to offer full repayment to the people involved in the hack. And we did this through a debt token. Now, the beauty about DeFi is that once the debt token is out, a decentralized market can happen right away. So some people said, I'll trade you my debt because I want to have some cash right now. And that token is currently has a certain trading value. So what we did at Pickle is that the community voted for a certain amount of revenue to go to this hack funds. And at the moment it seems small because we were just undergoing a period of turmoil, but with the strength of the community, the support that we had from them, the deposits have come back. We are now higher in deposits that we were before the hack, and we are much higher in revenue. So the revenue sharing that we're giving these on for to this people holding the token, the debt token we call cornichon, and it's a little pickle. So we abbreviate it to corn. Every week we are sending money to the corn contract, and that is helping out people who are holding it. They can see the price go up. If they need to exit for whatever reason, they can exit. And eventually, the price of corn is going to reach $1, because we're just going to keep sending money to it until we have all the debt fully paid, right? And it we have a Medium announcement about it. We have been frank about it. We have fixed our security processes to make sure this was a developer error and it doesn't happen again on production level code. And we have expanded the team significantly. So I was a community member at the time of the hack. I was in the Pickle multi-sig. Uh, and it was very difficult from the point of view of the community to how to deal with this. We're all new to it, but we form our own values in DeFi through the DAO. So I'm glad to say that the majority of people supported a full compensation in this case. So we do it through voting. So this happened through snapshot-based voting. If you want to vote in Pickle, you need some DIL, right? And in order to get some DIL, you need to lock your pickles. And the only way you can get pickles besides buying them is to use the Pickle application. So that has been the case from the very beginning. There haven't been any kind of investor raise of pickles, any kind of say pickles saved. These are the pickles for the team. The developers that found a pickle just went crazy and decided to give 100% of the pickle supply out as incentives over a certain amount of time, and that time is not over yet. So it's still early to go and use something like Pickle Finance and get a small percentage of ownership of a DeFi protocol just by being a user.
Yeah, I think one of the differences to some other DAOs that have popped up in DeFi is the fact that the DIL DAO requires you to actually lock your pickles away for that period of time. So it kind of follows the Curve VCRV model. Whereas a lot of protocols, you can just hold the token and get a vote. So with Pickle, you're kind of automatically getting a more committed DAO in terms of the fact they're all invested for the long term in Pickle as a project. So they all have the project's best interests at heart rather than just their own. Of course, you do still get large investors, and we have some large DIL holders that have put a lot of Pickle away for 4 years or a long period of time, and they obviously have a high way to vote. They're heavily invested in the project financially, so they get the sort of equivalent weight in their say in terms of how Pickle runs and what we should do as a DAO. So yeah, that's one of the differences, I guess, to some projects where holding a token is all you need to sort of get a vote.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point to make, and we're still at early days with a lot of DAOs, but there's a lot of great mechanisms out there that can be implemented, and yeah, it's good to see more protocols doing that. So another more lighthearted question. A number of people are asking about if Pickle is going to be merging more with NFTs or experimenting in this area. So Tamara, I have to kind of point to your profile photo. I mean, I noticed in kind of the past week or so, or 2 weeks, that the team kind of overhauled all of your PFPs to these really cool psychedelic style pickles. So can you speak more about that? Because I know that you've been releasing some really amazing artworks that has been designed by one of your community members. So yeah, how are you guys navigating the NFT space?
Yeah, so we've been doing sort of Pickle related NFTs for most of the year. Actually, we started working with an amazing artist who goes by the name of Fennec. And he came to us initially when we sort of reached out publicly for a designer to help us do some work on the branding. And he just sort of really impressed us with his artwork, and we've since been working very regularly with him to release NFTs for all sorts of reasons. So, we've been doing a weekly DIL Day NFT release recently. We do a lot of NFTs as well when we partner up with new projects. So there's some sort of special, exclusive NFTs launched for the first 20 depositors in a jar, or we do some sort of giveaway on Twitter for those projects as well. The way the avatars came about was actually a project, sort of a PFP project that popped up called Wubba Lubba. And they sort of did the whole sort of Pickle Rick type style of avatars, and we just thought it'd be a great opportunity to streamline all of the different visuals, I guess, that the team had in terms of their PFPs. And I personally had been using mine for many years, so it was quite a hard decision to make that change, but given everybody else did as well, I went along with it. And it's gone down really well with the community to have that sort of team feeling, and some of the community have taken the step to follow suit as well. We are actually talking about doing some sort of special editions. It's Pickle's birthday in a couple of weeks, so we turn 1 in early September, and we're talking about doing some special DIL DAO exclusive NFT PFPs development. So Fennec will personally design some PFPs for members of the DIL DAO. according to their specs. So they'll give him a brief, and he'll go off and hand paint some PFPs, which I think will be great.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I must say that as a DeFi protocol, and I know, as you said, you're coming up to your 1 year anniversary, and if we backtrack 1 year ago in DeFi summer, there was a lot of these like food or meme coins launching. So yeah, it's really interesting, because I must say, from like a creative and design and cultural perspective, there's something to that. I mean, even when we did the collaboration with Drip and the Global Designer Network, the designers loved kind of just modding and collaborating and designing for like Pickle style fashion and kind of creative work. So related to that, and it's very relevant to what you were just speaking about, but how can more designers, creators, even fashion designers that get involved with Pickle? Like, do you guys have kind of bounties or quests even for creators coming in? Like, I know you said you're working closely with Finneck, and he's doing, or they're doing really interesting things with the profile photos, but do you plan to, branch out and kind of have more of the creative side come into even the DAO itself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't see why not. We have collaborated with a few other artists over this year as well. And, we're always open to, new bounties or initiatives where people want to get involved. So, yeah, if any of the designers on the call want to help us, obviously you helped us design some amazing hoodies and caps and things recently, which have gone down really well as well. But yeah, definitely open to that kind of future collaboration opportunity.
Great. And then a few more questions. I've got a few more minutes. I'll go back through the AMA. So someone is asking here, which is an interesting question: what's the difference between Pickle strategies and Yearns at a high level? And for those that don't know, listening in, Yearn is another DeFi protocol.
Yeah, so at a very high level, currently most Pickle strategies are based on pooled tokens. So the underlying exposure is to more than one token, right? So if you go to Yearn, which is actually one of our security and operational partners, you will see that they mostly have stable coins, right? So if you have DAI, if you have USDC, then probably you will find a good home at Yearn. They do things like find out which is the best, say, lending market at the moment to put your like stable coins in, and then you don't have to balance it yourself and save all that gas, right? So for Pickle, it would mostly be a pool token. So instead of, say, DAI, we have a pool for ETH DAI on Sushi. So if you're helping the decentralized market between ETH and DAI, you're receiving some Sushi as part of that. And if you like the ETH and DAI a little bit more than you like the Sushi, or you just want to compound your growth, then you put it on Pickle Finance, right? And besides that auto compounding, you will receive some pickles. So we have different emissions than Yearn. Yearn is a fixed supply token, and it was totally fairly distributed, but I think it took less than a month for everybody to take it. So Pickle's a year old, and we're still giving out pickles. So that's another difference.
Mm-hmm. And another highly relevant one to round out the session. So, a great thing about Pickle, and I must say, as I've been becoming more involved with your protocol, I love the pickle and deal puns that get thrown around. I mean, it's really part of that meme culture as well. So, what was the inspiration for naming the protocol Pickle Finance? How did you guys come up with that? Was it something specific or random, or part of like the food coin meme coin buzz last year?
Yeah, to be honest, neither of us were responsible for that. We kind of joined after the fact, but the original founders, look, they very much wanted to jump on the food coin sort of trajectory that was happening at the time. And I think they felt that Pickle, and Pickle Rick in particular, was a great sort of meme opportunity that can bring together a community. And I think that really worked, actually. And that sort of although we've, I guess, professionalized ourselves a little bit, so we rebranded away from having a food token as our logo, and the Pickle Rick dab has disappeared from the app, which it was there originally, kind of as a background dancing around the app. You know, we've tried to become a bit more professional, but still retain that sort of playful, meme type character as well, which I think everybody in the community still values.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's an interesting point that you make, even the idea of professional, like that's still in a Web2 sense, the way that we're defining it, because if we really look at Web3 and kind of this open bazaar of different protocols merging and mixing together, the idea of like meme culture and, you know, integrating with finance, it's not really that crazy. Like, I know if we went back like even 6-7 months, a lot of people would have said, you know, oh, I would never like trust a protocol which just had like apes as their profile photos, or that's what the team was made of. But now with this whole wave of PFPs and NFTs, it's really becoming this norm of like, well, you can represent yourself any way you want online. And I guess that is the beauty of decentralization and blockchain tech. It's like putting the power and the automation in the smart contracts. So then we can be more flexible with our identities, IRL and digitally. So yeah, I'll have one last question to round out and pose to both of you. What is your favorite type or style of pickle?
Well, funnily enough, I actually really dislike cucumbers, but I don't mind pickles too much, but I tend to prefer just the sort of burger pickles. I'm not the type that just grabs a full pickle from the jar and munches on it, like my partner does. But yeah, sort of burger pickles is mine.
And what about you, Likwanji?
I like the gherkins, really crunchy, you know, quite sour. Yeah.
I wonder if that will be a thing in the future. You know, one of the requirements of joining the DIGITALAX, it's like you have to like pickles. You have to undergo some initiation of eating a full pickle. We don't know, right? So with that said, guys, thank you so much for joining this stream. It was really fun and learned a lot. And yeah, and everyone listening, I really encourage you, please join the Pickle Discord. The team is absolutely lovely. They're welcoming, they're warm. And yeah, if you have any questions, they will answer it. Otherwise, this was a really great session, and thank you so much for your time.
No, thanks
Thank
to
you for your time. It's been amazing. Thanks.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.